Good morning everybody and welcome back to I Loaf You. Today we are going to be making a red, white, and blue tart. Since this is Memorial Day weekend here in the US, we are going to make this with strawberries, blueberries, some whipped cream. We are going to make a different type of tart. It's more of a cake tart than a traditional tart dough crust. So we are going to start right in with our sponge cake, which is going to be our base. So we have our egg yolks in our bowl, and we are going to mix these up until they're nice and thick and yellow, which should take like 3 to 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to add our vanilla and a little bit of our sugar, and then we will continue on to our next step. So now that this is mixed together, we are just going to wash the whips from our mixer. I am using the hand mixer today. I just didn't want to get out the large stand mixer. You can use either or, whichever you prefer or whichever you have. So we are going to just wash our beaters. We're going to set this to the side, and we are going to get our egg whites whipped up. Alright, so we are just going to mix together our egg whites. And you want to make sure that your whips or beater is clean and dry. If there's any egg yolk or moisture on your beaters, it's not going to whip up your egg whites as well as you would like. So now we want to get this whipped, and we are going to go until we are doubled in volume. We just added our cream of tartar, and now we're just going to whip this up. And I'm going to add, again, another portion of our sugar, not all of it, maybe about half of our reserved sugar. And we're just going to get this mixed up. Right, so we've set that aside, and we are going to sift together our flour and our first amount of sugar measured. It'll be the first sugar in the ingredient list down below. So we just want to get these sifted together. And now we are going to start mixing everything together. So our first step here, we have our egg whites and our whipped egg yolks. We want to put our egg yolks into the whites. And we just want to do a quick fold of these into one another. Just you want to make sure that you're being gentle, because you don't want your egg whites to deflate on you too much. It will obviously deflate a little bit because you are mixing it again. Just make sure you're being gentle. So now we are going to mix the remaining of our measured sugar into here. And we will fold together once again. Just make sure that you're being gentle. And now we are going to fold in our flour mixture in 3 parts. Again, just folding and being very gentle. you have overmixed your batter or you mixed it too rough, not gently enough, it will not look like this. It will be not be this light and fluffy. It'll be a lot, it won't make quite as much batter. You can still bake it. It'll be a much denser cake. It won't be as light and fluffy as a traditional sponge, but it will still taste the same. So either way, I would still bake it. Don't consider it a flop right away. You never know what'll happen and what could come out of the oven. So we are going to get this into my pan. I personally am using a Tart cake pan. It has this raised section in the center. So when you bake it, you flip it over out of the pan and you can use the top as a tart shell. So you could use this now, you could stop the video and use this just as a sponge cake recipe, or you can continue if you have something like this, or you just want to make this something similar to a tart, or just the fillings for the tart will be coming up. Alright, you can see here our sponge cake is nice and golden brown and separating from the edges of the pan. I did toothpick test and it came out clean. You can also tap the top of it and you see how it bounces back. That's how you can tell that it's done. Now before our sponge cake completely cools, I do want to flip it upside down onto our serving plate that we are going to finish filling and decorating it on. So we are going to get that flipped out and then set it aside to finish cooling. All right, so to start our pastry cream, we want to put our milk as well as 1 portion of our sugar. This is our smaller portion of sugar into our saucepan. And at this point, if you were making the recipe that is actually in the description down below, you would add the vanilla bean as well. I did not get a chance to get out to get a vanilla bean, so we're actually going to make a different flavor. I'm going to put in a little bit of orange extract. It is a stronger extract, so I can put it in before cooking and making the pastry cream. I don't have to add it at the end. If you add vanilla extract at this point, it will cook most of the flavor out and you won't get a whole lot of flavor for it. So we are actually going to use orange extract today to make this a little bit fruitier. So I will add that and we are going to start this boiling. So while we are starting to cook that, we want to whisk our egg yolks up, and we are going to add our granulated sugar, the larger portion, to our egg yolks. We are going to just add our sugar, and we just want to get this whisked until it's nice and thick, and then we are going to add in our corn starch as well. Be careful not to overflow your milk. You can see it is boiling. It will foam up very quickly, so you just want to make sure you're watching that. And now we are going to get this tempered into our egg yolk. So to temper, you just want to make sure you're continuously mixing because you don't want this to cook. And you just mix in a little bit at a time. Now that we have tempered our whites into our yolks, we are going to return this to our pan. Now we are using a non-reactive pan. If you use something such as an aluminum pan, you have the potential for your pastry cream to actually turn green, and nobody wants that. Alternately, if you are using any lemon juice or anything like that in it, you have the potential also to cause a reaction and make people very sick. So you just want to make sure that you're not going to get anybody sick. So now we're going to keep this on our heat. I have it on a medium-high heat, and we just want to make sure that you are continuously whisking it, because you don't want to have any of your eggs cook to the bottom of your pan. So just gonna continuously mix it until we are nice and thick and boiling. Once we're boiling, we are going to boil it for a good 2 minutes. And then we will transfer it into a separate, clean, also non-reactive bowl to cool a little bit and to add our butter. So next we are just going to add our butter, and we just want to mix that in and have it melt and be nice and uniform. You just don't want to over mix this, because if you do, it will thin out quite a bit. Alright, so we are going to set our pastry cream into our divot here. You can either cool it first or use it while it's a little bit warm. Mine thickened very quickly, so I want to make sure that I pour it into the shell first before it cools, just so that I know that it's not going to thicken too much more in the fridge cooling. I don't want it to be so thick that I can't pour it out. So we'll just get that spread thin and let this cool while we clean and cut up our berries. So our next step is to either make or layer on some whipped cream onto the top of our pastry cream. That way we create our white that we're using for the red, white, and blue tart. So I'm going to be making my own. I will just whip it up and add our little bit of powdered sugar, and then we can get started assembling. we have our whipped cream made. I have our tart here chilled, and I have our fresh fruit, our fresh berries, all cleaned, washed, and prepped. So we're gonna start out by layering on some of our whipped cream. And we just want to spread this out to cover our custard. Because then we are going to layer our fruit on top to make our true red, white, and blue theme here. You just want to layer it down to however you think looks pretty, because you want it to look nice.